What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the World War History Bar. Hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day. In today's video, we will be doing part 2 of Adolf Hitler. If you missed our first part, we'll link it in the description. We're actually going to link our playlist to all of our videos, so you can just go and see all that stuff. If you guys do enjoy the video, drop a like and subscribe, and let's get into part 2.
So, I believe last time we left off, we were talking about how Hitler was at a meeting, basically spying for the German government, and saying that, reporting on anti-government, anti-Semitic activities, kind of. But he realized that his views aligned a lot with theirs. He realized that they aligned with his views, and he decided to join them. So he ended up joining the German Workers' Party in September of 1919.
And just to add in there, he was member 555, but he was like number 55. But they had said they had 500 people at least to make it appear like they had more than they really did.
Yeah, false advertising, right? But his first, so he joined in September 1919. His first statement was in a letter to this guy named Adolf on September 16th, and it stated that the government's aim, and I quote, must unshakably be the removal of the Jews altogether. He made his first party speech at a beer hall on October 16th of that year, and it was chosen because he insisted that it be there. Not really sure why he chose this specific beer hall.
This place, it could hold more than 100 people, and also it was more in the how would I say it? It was more like in the city, more where a lot more people who had not, don't have jobs would be at.
But there were just about 100 people that showed up, I guess, per capacity in the beer hall. He was listed as the second speaker of the night, and so he went up, he did it. Everyone was surprised that he gave a speech of that much emotional volume and I guess powerful, although sometimes a bit insane. It lasted about 30 minutes, and he basically got the crowd to love the hell out of it. So after that, he became the go-to speaker. Everybody was like, "Oh, let's get him up on front. He's the main speaker." And he would talk about how the Treaty of Versailles basically Germany over. He would also talk about anti-Semitic views, blaming Jews for Germany's economic problems, loss of and then attendance at the parties because of meetings, because of this, these giant radical speeches. He kept going up and up and up and up and up. It was just exponentially increasing. Furthermore into the hundreds, and by early 1920, early the next year, he became the leader of propaganda for that party, and he would lead the effort of recruiting young men from the army into the party, including this former army captain who was kind of pompous almost. He was a little bit pompous, but his name was Ernst Braun. And he would play a pretty big role in Hitler's rise to power in Germany. He's also gay, not that that matters, but that was a hidden fact that was a fact he hid from him for a very long time. Hitler would also attract
alienated, maladjusted soldiers or ex-soldiers.
But he would advocate for the party's first mass meeting. He was opposed, though, by much of the party, which is weird. He would win them over and have the meeting. There'd be over 2,000 people here, which is insane.
This is the most they'd had up to this point.
And he outlined this thing called 25 points. There's only a few we're going through here. We're not going to go through all 25 of them. But basically the unity of all German people in just one big giant range. rejection of the Treaty of Versailles since they viewed it as something that's true.
And that was one of the most agreed upon points.
Demand for Lebensraum. Lebensraum. German for living space. And then citizens, all determined by race. No Jew considered German, so this is basically the start of
Anti-Jews.
Well, anti-Semitic, white power, blonde hair, and many other things, etc. And then that meeting lasted about 4 hours. So imagine how long you've been talking about that. And it was a gigantic success.
But even though he had all this success, he realized that there was one major thing that was hindering the party's growth, and that was they didn't really have a recognizable symbol or flag or even name. They only had it's a circle with DAP, and I'll put a thing up on screen. It's not really recognizable, not memorable. It's very plain. So in 1920, he changed the party name from the German Workers' Party, or the Deutsche Arbeiterpartei, to the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or the National Sozialistische Deutsche Arbeiterpartei, and obviously shortened to Nazi. And he would also change the flag from I think it was literally three little lines. Post-production Zach and Chase here, it was actually just a DAP symbol we showed you earlier. It wasn't anything different. So with a green background or something. And he changed it. He took a red background and he put in the middle a white circle, and then in the middle the infamous symbol, the swastika, which had been used by many groups at the time. And he'd seen it in the monastery in Lombok, Austria, as a boy.
Yeah, it was a. Sorry to interject, but it was the swastika initially was viewed as a religious symbol. It was used a lot in Buddhism.
Yeah,
and it was meant as a peace symbol. Kind of ironic that it ended up being used in the deadliest conflict ever.
But there was so much genius put in. I hate to say this for Hitler, but the way he made this, he had red, white, and black, the colors of the old imperial German country. That part right there is really big. He was not trying to go rid away with the old Germany. He was trying to I want to keep Germany, the old imperial Germany, but with a new government. He wanted to bring back the great Germany. It was a way of saying we want to be the old Germany, but greater, basically. It was quite a change, and it really helped the party. They instantly gained popularity just by those two changes. It shows just how much a symbol and a name can, add to the popularity. And by the end of 1920, the party's population had swelled to 30,000 members from the 55 they had before Hitler joined. Shows just how much of an impact he had. And at this time, Hitler had become the face of the party. I mean, everybody knew who he was. He was beginning crowds of up to 6,000 people. People were coming to see him. He was that popular. And many of the leading figures of the party started to feel that Hitler was trying to take control of the party. Like, he was taking his popularity and kind of using that to take control. They didn't like that. So they tried to, form together to try to take the power away from Hitler, and Hitler was not all about that. So he immediately responded quickly and said, "I'm resigning from the party." He resigned on July 11th, 1921, and almost immediately, these people who were trying to try to lessen his power realized, "Oh my God, if he leaves, our party's done. He is the face of the party. He's the one lifting the party. If he's gone, we're done."
I love that they were having this meeting and saying, "We need to get rid of this guy." And then they realized, "Oh wait, if we get rid of him,
yeah,
it's like."
He had resigned already.
They just turned right around and said, "Oh no, that was all jokes, bro."
No, what actually happened though was they said, "Oh wait, hold on, actually, come on, don't leave. We kind of need you." And it was like, "All right, fine. I'll come back and be I'll join the party if two things. One, you stop trying to conspire against me, and two, I replace Anton Drexler, the current chairman. I replace him and become the leader of the party." There's no way they could get around it. So they did a vote, and Hitler won the landslide. 543 votes to him, with only one vote against him. So Hitler was finally the party leader. This was his first experience of actually being the leader or something, and that would be a very impactful thing in the future. At this time in 1922, Germany was having a lot of financial problems. Their currency was tanking because of a clause in the Treaty of Versailles, which stated that Germany had to pay back France and England for starting the war. So they started to really do the dumb stuff. They started to print money because they ran out of money. To give you a little idea of what it was like, before World War One, it was 4 marks to the dollar. By this time, it was like 4.2 trillion marks to 1 US dollar. It was that bad because of inflation and all that stuff. So it got terrible. And at this point, Hitler said, I'm going to take advantage of this, because there was so much civil unrest that Hitler thought, I can use this to my advantage. I will start a revolution, and people, since they're so mad and unrest, they will join, and you will be able to make it a lot easier. And he took inspiration from a certain fascist leader, which he's covered here on the channel. That is Benito Mussolini. He, right around this time actually, he had this march on Rome. So Hitler took that and said, I'm going to do the exact same thing, but in Germany. So what it would be called is the Beer Hall Putsch. So the plan was, Hitler was going to basically start off with his group in Munich. They were going to try to go in, capture the Bavarian government officials, force them into joining with him. Then from there, they were going to get the army to join with them. And from there, take over Munich itself, and from there, have all the different pockets of the party from different parts of the country join together, and then take over the entire country. That was the plan. Obviously, it did not end up going that way, but that was the start of the whole main plan. And the way they were going to get the army into it was they actually had a World War I general. It was Erich Ludendorff. He was a sympathetic person to Hitler's cause, and it would get them a way into the army area. So on November 8th, 1923, Hermann Göring surrounded the Burger Braukeller, which was a very famous beer hall in Munich. And of course, on this day, very big coincidence, the Bavarian leaders were having a meeting in this beer hall. So the plan, they were going to go in and capture them. So they surround the place. Hitler marches in with Hermann Göring and a bunch of others behind him, steps up on the main table, points his gun into the air, boom, and shoots, and holds all of the Bavarian leaders at gunpoint. From there, they declared that the national revolution has begun, and they tried to make them, the Bavarian leaders, join them. And the Bavarian leaders would not. They were not going to join. They would not. They wouldn't even talk. And it took some convincing. And the way they did this was Hitler had Ludendorff come in and talk to the leaders, and that finally got them to say they were going to go on. They were like, yeah, we're totally part. But they weren't. But they were just saying that. So after that, Hitler leaves the beer hall and tells everybody who has gathered outside the news. They have joined us. We're going to take over. We're going to head into the middle of town. But then he gets news that the other parts of this revolution are not going as planned. One of the parts was they were going to have men go and take the army barracks and make those men that were in these barracks turn and work with them. But they were not successful. They didn't get a single one of them to work. But the only place they did get successfully was the army headquarters at the War Ministry. The Nazis had taken it and surrounded it. And so Hitler thought, I don't know what we're going to do. They didn't know what they were going to do. So they decided, all right, well, Ludendorff actually said, hey, let's just march into the middle of Munich and join them, and from there we can spread out and take everything. So, alright, Hitler's like, alright, let's do this. So, they began to march into the middle of Munich. They went across the bridge, they went underneath the, I forget what the arch is called. I'll put it up on screen right now. And you can see this picture of them walking through there, but this was actually a picture from when they were doing the anniversary of the Beer Hall Putsch after Hitler had taken power. So they walk through and they get all the way up to the Felder Hall, which was a World War I memorial type thing. And that's where they met the Bavarian army. They stopped, they looked at each other. Hitler yelled out, "Join us! We aren't against you, we are with you. Join us, we can take down the government and put a brand new one in." Not a single Bavarian police officer or army person said anything or budged. And then, boom, a shot rang out from the Bavarians. And then everybody started shooting. All hell broke loose. And by the end of this, 16 Nazis would be dead, and along with 3 Bavarian soldiers.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how that played out. Some trigger-happy Bavarian soldier was like, okay, I don't believe this for a second, and he just damn shoots him.
Mm-hmm.
But after that whole fucking fiasco, Hitler and most, if not the rest of the Nazis, just went into hiding, basically scattered everywhere. You know, hide with your parents, hide with your wives, basically. Try and avoid being detained by the government. And Hitler hid at the home of a friend known as
Hofsteingle.
Hofsteingle. God, that's so weird.
Yeah.
But he would eventually be caught anyway, and he was arrested along with the other leading figures of the party, and he was charged with high treason for Beer Hall Putsch. People believed that this was essentially the end of the politician.
But little did they know. Just the beginning.
Yeah, just the beginning right there.
A new birth, you could say.
A new birth, in a sense, my fellow friends. Let's keep this going. So, the judges were chosen by sympathizers of his Nazi cause, basically, to help him. He gained national and international fame due to the coverage on it, and he would use the courtroom to talk about himself, basically get people to sympathize with him by talking sympathetic about himself. He admitted to the charges, but he stated that he was a patriot of the German people, and that democracy somehow was really criminal. Don't know how that works. But his speech helped him actually shorten his prison sentence. He was supposed to be sentenced to life, but instead he got 5 years and 6 months eligible for parole. He was put in this place called Landsberg Prison, and somehow lived a relatively comfortable life.
You look at like the prisons here in the U.S., and you compare it to where he stayed in, his place looked like a resort, basically.
He had visitors bringing him gifts and all sorts of food. I assume he's getting fan mail there. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
He gained a few pounds, so he got fat.
He didn't get fat, but he did gain a few pounds. Well,
I mean, if we're using this in a joking manner, then.
Yeah.
But while he was there, he would write probably what's one of the most infamous books in history. It's called Mein Kampf, German for My Struggle. You can't really find it anywhere, by the way.
And even if you do read it, it's literally just a jam-packed nonsense book of anything that came to Hitler's brain that he just shouted out in prison.
It's literally a political rant.
Basically, yeah. And there were a lot of very, very, very hurtful and vile things that he said in there, specifically targeted toward the Jews and non-desirables. It was
this basically, if I know we said in the previous video that like his beginning of his ideology was kind of the start. The book is where it really kicked off.
Yeah.
That's where it really came out.
I mean, he said things like, The Jews are a vile cancer living among the body of the German people.
And those should be exterminated.
Yeah.
We don't support this, by the way.
We're
not against this. We're not for this.
Only educational purposes only.
Yes. But it was an outline of his ideals as a politician. Like, very fucked up, basically. But he spent a grand total of about 6 months, or 5 months, 6 months. And he was released for good behavior of all things on this planet Earth to have. Good behavior.
Alright guys, that's gonna do it for part number 2 of Adolf Hitler. We will be doing a final third part later down the, coming up soon, whenever we get it finished, because it is a freaking long ass video.
Chalk it down to my recording being almost an hour long.
Well,
it takes forever to get a Hell Let Loose game session in.
But if you guys did enjoy part 2, definitely drop a like and subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you don't miss out on our next uploads. Because for some reason YouTube doesn't like to show people's, give alerts to people's videos.
YouTube's dumb. Do we agree on that one?
But with that said, we'll see you guys back here at the World War History Bar next time for some more videos. If you want to see, we also have an Instagram and stuff like that down below. We post pictures and updates, so yeah, go check that out too. But with that said, we'll see you guys back here at the World War History Bar next time. Peace!